welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk about a genre that gets left out a lot in bookstores, actually all the time in bookstores, and that's new adult. We're going to explain what it is, but also the difference between new adult and young adult and adult. But before we do that, we want to encourage you, please, if you like our videos, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a Friday upload.
And hang on for the end of this video when we reveal what our favorite new adult reads are.
So let's start by explaining what these three genres are. First, young adult. Young adult is a genre that features characters from the ages of 12 to 18. Think like 7th grade through 12th grade, the upper middle school to high school years. These are essentially children and teenagers. Therefore, these books are not spicy, so stop asking for spicy YA. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Okay, adult books feature characters from the ages of 26 and up, and these are characters who are established in their adulthood. They have careers, they are married a lot of the time, they might have children, they have a home. These are real adults. You got this age where it doesn't fit in either one. You don't want to read about teenagers, but you don't necessarily want to read about, old people either. And that's where new adult comes in. And that's the ages of 18, like out of high school 18, and 25. And that's the new adult, which is one of our favorite places to be, even though we are not new adults. We are, and unfortunately, the old people range, but we love to read new adult and write new adult. And new adult is fun.
A little caveat about new adult or any of the genres, for instance, the characters are usually in those age range, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't have an adult book that has a character that's 18 or 19. It's all about your audience. Who is the main audience you're trying to captivate? We really see this switch when you go into the main genres, which we would just assume them all as being adult. So if you are doing fantasy, sci-fi, romance, we're just assuming all of those are adult genres. But that doesn't mean that those characters in those genres couldn't be 18, 21 or whatnot.
Sure.
That's really where people are struggling with the new adult thing. But the new adult is so much fun because it takes that angstiness and that the uncertainty you still have trying to figure yourself out that you find in YA. And then it takes all of the limits that a child would have and it gets rid of them and you get all the adult freedom.
The thing that we like that you get from new adult that you also get from young adult is all of the firsts. Like we talked about that before. Like we love all the first kiss, the first meeting, the first date, the first time they have sex, the first whatever. You don't get the sex part obviously from YA. All of the first fresh feelings that you can get all that in new adult too. The high school romance and the college romance have the same fresh tone, but with the new adult is more mature and you can feel like I'm reading something that's way more my age group and way more I can relate to way more as an adult than I can with a bunch of high schoolers. And so that's the other thing is talking about the sex stuff. YA is not spicy. If you are an adult over the age of 18 and you are asking for spicy YA, please stop. Please stop and think about that for a second. Just think about it. That's gross.
Yeah, because you're
about what you're asking for
the audience. That is not, you're not the audience for YA then. You're a new adult. Really, you're a new adult audience, and therefore that's where you want to go. You're looking in the wrong place, folks. You're looking at the wrong stories, and there's plenty of exciting new adult stories that are fantasy and dystopian and all these other things that we love so much about YA. You can find them in new adult as well.
Yeah, which is why it drives me crazy that bookstores don't have a new adult section. I wish they did. I still don't really understand it. I'm sure there's some kind of long-winded, ridiculous economical explanation. I'm sure it has to do something with money. like everything else.
We have this mass market of people that love to read about people that are experiencing things for the first time. And so although we have the really spicy like romance books that can feature, you know, adults from anywhere from 18 to 100 years old, if that's what you wanted, that would be weird. There's probably not a lot of college age people, and we see such an uptick of college age people who are loving to read romance. They probably don't want to read about grandma and grandpa falling in love. It's
or
weird.
even, you know, 36-year-old, 42-year-old falling in love. Like, they don't want to read about like older people that are, you know, in their home with their 2.5 kids and their dog and their picket fence. Like, that's not what a 19-year-old who is like a sophomore in college, they're not wanting to read about that.
And sometimes even us as adults that have kids and homes and bills to pay and adult responsibilities, it's fun for us to kind of step back and go back into that point of time when we didn't have those things.
That's exactly what I was about to say, because like, I do love that. I think that's one reason why I do love, for example, the Off-Campus series so much, is because it does remind me of like the years that I spent in college.
Days.
Not that I ever had anything like, you know,
You weren't dating really hot hockey
a
players?
Graham or a Dean in my life, because I was in marching band. but like,
that's a story
like,
in itself.
But it does take you back to like all of the fun times that you had like in those days where you had different, I mean, not saying that we didn't have like issues or problems, but like you had different kinds of issues or problems, and it does take you back to those times. So while you don't as a 19-year-old want to jump forward into, you know, old land, those of us in old land do like to go back to, you know, young land, but not young 17, 16-year-old land. Because, and I'm not saying that I don't like to read YA, because I do like YA, but I do not like YA for spice. And I'm telling you, I don't see it as much anymore, because I think people are finally starting to realize that that's kind of gross. Actually, it's really gross. I think people are finally starting to be like, oh, ew. Yeah, that is like, that's kind of like, ugh. So I don't see it as much, but please stop it.
The other great thing about new adult is sometimes we read these YAs and there's these couples, they're brand new to love. It's the first love type of thing. And then we're supposed to believe that there's a happily ever after. And really, that's not very realistic. Like, who you fall in love with in high school is not usually your forever. Not saying that can't be, because I married my high school sweetheart. So that can be, but it is more realistic when you have somebody that's 22, 23 years old and they're meeting somebody and this person is going to be there forever. That makes a whole lot more sense. So really, when you're trying to look at those stories of writing that forever, I mean, I sometimes go back and I look at some of my favorite YAs and I'm like, did they last forever? Because they were so young and there was still so much growing to do. And did they outgrow each other? Which happens all the time. So with these, it's nice because you're in that stage where you're growing into who you're going to be. And it doesn't mean that they couldn't outgrow each other, but the probability is better for a happily ever after forever.
As promised, some of our favorite new adult reads. No one is surprised that mine is Flock by Kate Stewart. We did not put the other two of the Ravenhood series in this list because the other two take place 6 years later and everyone's older, like into the more adult range. So Flock, though, she is college age, so definitely a new adult in the first book. And I already mentioned the Off-Campus series by Elle Kennedy, which is a college hockey romance.
I put on my list Maybe Someday by Colleen Hoover. I loved it. It was cute and fluffy and it had so much drama. There was so much drama, and the complications in the relationship with having one character being deaf was amazing. So I love that, like, college angst that was already going on there with already dealing with a disability in a relationship. So that was very awesome. And then I loved Red, White, and Royal Blue. So good. If you've not read this, this is like U.S. senator's son and the prince of the royal family in England. And they supposedly hate each other, but the paparazzi has like blown this whole thing out of proportion. And really, they got a little thing for each other, and I love it. It was so good.
And the last one is one of both of our favorites. Actually, we both have read all of these and love all of them. And the last one is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. So good. It's trigger warning if you don't like age gap. You probably shouldn't read this one, but it is in fact new adult. The MC is new adult. The love interest is definitely adult. But
older man. But
Yeah.
so good, and seeing how that dynamic changed between them. And Pike was very steamy. I loved me some Pike.
And it was it's a forbidden love slow burn also.
So there you have it. There are some of our favorite new adults. There's your explanation of new adult if you're thinking you want to get into the genre, or you're not sure and maybe you've been tagging your stuff wrong and been putting it out there as YA, and it shouldn't be YA, it should be new adult. There you go. Now you know how to tag it properly and make sure that you are attracting the correct audience for your story.
And if you want to read either YA or new adult, you can do that on my profile at Eternal Felicity. I have some YA and new adult, and Crystal has lots of new adult on her profile. And on our profile, we have YA, one YA, but mostly
all new adult. And as always, write what you love.